All right, so this is the slope assignment. I'm going to go through and do a couple of them with you guys, but it covers the notes that we took the other day on Tuesday. So if you have your notes out from Tuesday, that's going to be super helpful for this assignment. But before we even get started for slope assignment, I want to write down two super important things for slope before we even start looking at our questions. Okay, so let's write down our pretty important formulas. So in order to find slope from a graph, you can find it by doing rise over run. Rise over run. That is how you find your slope from a graph. And then also down at the bottom of the paper, you can see we have 2 points down there. We're also going to need the slope formula from when you have 2 points. And that is from 2 points. That formula, you could say m equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Okay, so those formulas should look familiar because we did them on Tuesday. So there's the 2 different ways to find slope that we've done so far, and I forgot to write m equals for this one. So from a graph, you do the rise over run, and then from 2 points, you plug it into your formula, and we're going to do a couple of practice problems for all of those today together as a group. So make sure the ones that I am doing on the screen and with our lesson, you follow along with me and you also do the same exact ones, and then I will tell you which ones to do on your own afterwards, okay? All right, so first one we're going to do together here is number 1. Our directions for this top section, it says, given the graph, find the slope of the line. So they gave us this graph and they want us to find the slope. Okay, so we're going to be using that rise over run because they gave us a graph. So if we're looking at number 1 first, they gave us the 2 points here and here. Let me zoom in a little bit better so you can see it. So here's our 2 points. You always want to start with the point that's furthest to the left, and that's going to be this one here. And then we're going to do our rise. So I go up 1, 2. My rise is 2. And then we can find the run. So from here, 1, 2, 3. Run is 3. And then we can write our slope. For the final answer, we have equals, what would I write as my slope for my final answer? What over what? Would I do 2 over 3 or would I do 3 over 2? You can turn your microphone on or you can write it in the chat. What would I write for my final answer for the slope? 2 over 3 or 3 over 2? Awesome, good job, guys. So we're gonna do that rise over run, so you come out to 2 over 3. This would be your final answer for number 1. Okay, going on to our next one together as a group. I'm going to do number 3 as a group. Number 3. So we have our 2 points here and here. Okay, you always want to start with the point that's furthest to the left. So for this graph, that's this point here. And to find our rise, normally we go up, but this graph looks a little bit different. What kind of slope is number 3? Is number 3 a positive slope, negative slope, 0 slope, or undefined? Negative. And remember, you read it from left to right.
It's a negative.
Right, it is a negative slope because this line from left to right, it's going down. So this is a negative slope. So your rise, you're actually going to be going down. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my rise, since I go down, would I write a positive 6 for my rise or a negative 6 for my rise?
Negative.
Correct. So we're going to write a negative 6. There you go. And then let's find the run. What is my run?
1, 2, wait, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I think Aiden says 4. Anyone else got any answers for my run? So your run for this one, if we're starting at this point, let me jump 1, 2, 3. So your run is actually 3 for this one.
I keep miscounting that.
So yeah, the first dot, let me redo my run here. When you start at this red dot here, that's kind of like your 0, and then your next one is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you got to make sure that first dot where you start, that's kind of like your 0, and then the next one, that's where you start with 1. Okay, so let's write down our slope, rise over run. How can I write my slope? What over what?
-6 over 3.
Perfect. -6 over 3. Okay, so this one, I can actually simplify or reduce my fraction. So if I do that, would it be easier if I do -6 divided by 3, or would it be easier if I divide top and bottom by the same number?
By the same number, I think.
Okay, which number can I divide top and bottom by?
3.
Yep, I can divide top and bottom by 3. So then up top, what do we get? We get -6 divided by 3 is what?
That would be what? -2?
Right, that's -2. Here's my line. And then on bottom, 3 divided by 3 is what?
1.
Perfect. And then if you have a fraction, if you have a number that's over 1, you can just pretty much leave it as just that whole number up top. So really, -2 divided by 1. Another way to write this is just -2. So for number 3, your final answer for your slope would be a -2.
Okay.
So for finding that slope, we did it by dividing top and bottom by the same number, dividing both of them by 3. That's one way to do it. And then we simplified it by getting rid of that 1 underneath. But another way to do it was just ask yourself, what is -6 divided by 3? And then you would get this answer here, the -2. So there's 2 different ways to get it there. The easier way probably would have been the division, the -6 divided by 3. You can always go all different kinds of ways when doing that. Okay, let's do another one. Number 4. Let's do number 4 together. This is your line. I know sometimes they're kind of hard to see, but that is your line for number 4. Is this a vertical or a horizontal line?
It's vertical.
This line is vertical. So remember, I gave you guys that hint. I told you a horizontal line is 0 slope. So what is a vertical line? What kind of slope is that?
Undefined.
Perfect. That is undefined. Undefined. So that would be your final answer for number 4 because it's a vertical line. Okay. So really quickly, let's just run through those last 3 because I'm not going to do any more graphing. Let's quickly look at number 2. What kind of slope is number 2? Is number 2 positive, negative, 0, or undefined?
Number 2. Negative.
Perfect. Number 2 is a negative slope, so you'll need a negative sign in there somewhere for your answer. And then let's look at number 5. Is number 5 a positive, negative, 0, or undefined slope?
Positive.
It is positive because left to right, it's going up. So that one's positive. Good job. And then number 6, here's our line. I know sometimes they're kind of hard to see. Is number 6 positive, negative, 0, or undefined?
0.
Perfect. That's a horizontal line, so that's a 0 slope. So you can just write in your answer there 0 since we just did it together, or you can do the number 0. But sometimes I like to write out the word 0 so I can see exactly what it is. Okay, so I kind of just did number 6 with you guys as well for that. So you really only have to do, for this top section, you'll have to finish numbers 2 and 5 on your own.
Okay.
Okay. And then going on to our bottom section here, our directions. Use the slope formula to find the slope between the given 2 points. So remember, we wrote the slope formula at the top of the paper here. This is our slope formula when you're given 2 points. Okay, so we're going to be using that same formula for the bottom section of the paper. I'm going to do a couple of these with you guys. First one we'll do is number 7. And when you're doing these, before you actually start plugging things in, I like to label all of my information. So first, let's label X, Y, X, Y. Then we have 2 points here. So the 4, 9, that's our first point. So I have the little tiny 1. And then the 1, 6, that's our second point. So I have the little tiny 2. Okay, so let's start plugging it into our formula. I guess I can use bread, fine. So we have equals, what's my y2? What is under y2? Is it 4, 9, 1, or 6?
6.
So we have a 6 minus, because that's in the formula, my y1. What's under y1?
9.
9, perfect. And notice that I'm crossing them off as I use them. It helps you just to stay organized and to make sure you don't write the same number twice. So once I use the 6 and the 9, I cross them off. Now I've got my line. Now I'm looking for x2. What's my x2?
1.
Perfect. 1 minus, what's my x1? The last one that's left is 4. All right, so let's go ahead and simplify up top. What is 6 minus 9?
-3.
Perfect. We get a -3 up top, over, and then on bottom, what is 1 minus 4? -3. Perfect. And then can we simplify? What is -3 divided by -3?
Isn't that just -1? I think.
So if we have this little face thing here for multiplying and dividing, we have a negative divided by negative. I cross those 2 negative signs off. What am I left with?
A positive.
A positive. So it's got to be a positive 1.
Oh.
Okay. So our slope for number 7 is positive 1. So if you can simplify like we just did here, always, always, always simplify for your final answer. Okay, and I think a lot of these you will have to simplify. Most of them you will. Okay, so going on to the next one we'll do together. Number 8. Number 8 is the next one we'll do together. So what should I do first? What did I do the last time? First thing I did.
Put x, y over 4 and 1 and x2 and y2 over the -2 and -5.
Awesome. So we're going to label xy, xy, and then our first point and our second point. Okay, so now let's plug it into our formula. What can I put up top? What's my y2 minus y1? What minus what?
You do y2 or -5 first minus
Perfect.
-1.
-5 was my y2 minus my y1, which is -1. Perfect. And then what can I put on bottom? What minus what? What's x2 minus x1?
-2 minus -4.
Perfect. -2 minus -4. Awesome. Good job. Okay, so now let's start cleaning it up and simplifying. So if you have minus a negative, what does it turn into?
Just addition.
Just like a big plus sign. I like to also call this connect the dots and just turn it into one big plus sign. And we actually have it on top and bottom. So it's really like -5 plus 1 and -2 plus 4. So I'll rewrite that so you can see it a little bit better. So it's really -5 plus 1 over -2 plus 4. So you can rewrite it like I did here in the blue, or you can just turn the whole thing into a plus sign if you wanted to kind of save yourself from writing this extra stuff. Either one is fine. If you're not sure how to do it, I recommend rewriting the whole thing. All right, so let's keep on going. And up top, what is -5 plus 1?
-4.
Perfect. We get a -4 over. And then on bottom, what is -2 plus 4?
That +2.
Yep, +2. And then can we simplify this? Can you do -4 divided by +2?
Yeah. I think you get -2 as your answer.
Perfect. So our final answer, because negative divided by positive is negative. So we know our final answer is negative, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2. So your final answer, your simplified answer for number 8 would be your slope is -2. Okay, let's do next one, number 12. Next one I'll do is number 12. So we know we're going to label X, Y, X, Y. So this is my first point and my second point. So what can I write for my formula? What's the Y2 minus Y1? What minus what?
-3 minus 3.
-3 minus, what's my Y1?
3. Yeah.
-3. You got to be careful. There's lots of negatives in that last question and this one here. So you got to be careful when you have a lot of negatives. Okay, so let's write our bottom. What's my X2 minus X1? What minus what?
8 minus 4.
Perfect. 8 minus 4. Now let's start cleaning up. Let's look up top. We have -3 minus -3. Minus a negative turns into
Positive.
a positive. So I like to do the connect the dots, but if you want to rewrite it, you can. So it would look like this: -3 plus 3 over, and then on bottom, you wouldn't change anything. You could just rewrite it.
Isn't -3 plus 3 just 0?
Correct. -3 plus 3 is really just 0. So then our final answer over, what's 8 minus 4?
4.
Perfect.
So it's just going to be
And then what is 0 divided by 4, or 0 divided by any number is always
0.
0.
Wait, yeah.
Okay, so little hint here. If you end up with, let me write this down. If you end up for your final answer with a 0 on top, your answer is really just 0. Okay, so if you end up with a 0 on bottom, your answer is
0.
undefined, because you cannot divide by 0. Okay, so here's your 2 tips, this and this. If you have a 0 on top on the numerator, your answer is 0. If you have a 0 on bottom, the denominator, then your answer is undefined. And you will have one question where your answer is undefined and one question where your answer is 0, but we already did that one. So number 12, your answer for 0 is already done. You're going to have one question for this bottom section of your paper where you get undefined, and then all the other answers you'll end up getting fractions or whole numbers. Okay, do you guys want to do another problem from this bottom section, or do you guys feel confident enough to finish the rest of this paper on your own?
I think I'm fine to leave.
Okay, so let me just explain what we're doing today, and then if you have any other questions, you can stay on and I can work with you. But what you guys are working on for today is you're finishing this entire worksheet, all of the questions, 1 through 15, all of those questions.
Okay.
And then once you're finished, you can submit that picture on Schoology. So if you have no questions for me, you can go ahead and log out. Tomorrow we have Alex, and then that's it for today. But if you do have any questions, you can stay on here and I'll answer your questions if you have anything, okay?
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.